Hiring industry advisors, hiring ex-executives of accounts that you want to break into, or attending market conferences are all good ways of founders getting their first enterprise deal. The problem is they're very expensive and none of this shit is repeatable. So after spending $3.2 million getting my business to $7 million in revenue, I wanted a bolder approach that was repeatable that anyone in my sales team could do so we could crack the 8 figures and grow faster and grow more profitably. And we came across something called a Black Swan Insight. Using Black Swan Insights, our average meeting time for first meeting with an enterprise on our named account list went from 8 to 12 weeks down to less than 2, and the average account executive could do it. The other thing too, because we didn't attend conferences or hire executives or hire advisors, our average cost of acquisition of an enterprise account worth $1 million or more at my first business went from over $300,000 to under $50K, and made it way easier to break into our first account, with the majority of that $50K just being labor hours from the team to make it all work. And the best part about it is I got to stop attending fucking conferences. Hated the food, hated the environment, and I just knew that the major market players were going to beat me at every turn, so I had no leverage in actually getting access to who I wanted to. And you might be thinking, a 7-figure enterprise deal is impossible for a startup to make, and I just like to tell you what's at stake. Firstly, if you do crack it, it stops you from having to raise capital and spend more time in the market because they will give you way more cash. 2, if you're like, I don't know why they would work with me, big companies that are super effective and efficient struggle with innovation. They also struggle with ever getting innovation from consultants or other big companies. So if they want to do innovative things and they want to transform, a startup is the only option. Having an engine 2 that actually doesn't have much leverage on them is a safe way of moving boldly. Although it feels counterintuitive, it's your greatest opportunity. So in short, it's actually a lot simpler than you think to acquire a transformational deal with an enterprise as a smaller business, but you just have to play the game differently. And the way that we worked out how to do that was something called a Black Swan Insight. A Black Swan Insight, really, really short and too long don't read, is when we found out an unpredictable event happened and it forced the large business to move strategically in a new direction or revisit what didn't work. Put it simply, they got burnt and they had to change before it was too late and their share price tanked. That was a perfect environment for us to reach out at the right time and say, we have this unfair advantage. We noticed this Black Swan event that had occurred or this insight. We really think we could help you. Now that sounds super easy. And the reason is because it's actually hard to do in practice, which is finding the right account at the right time, actually having the courage to do it and knowing who to target. But the great thing about artificial intelligence is that a process that used to take us a few weeks and a shit ton of man hours really now just takes a few seconds and a few bucks and some creativity. And at our recent event in Orlando, which we did with 26 B2B founders in our Counterparts program, we launched our Black Swan AI agent that each of our customers now has access to. And in a sheer span of minutes, it finds Black Swans across all of their names accounts and gives them an approach. And rather than give you that agent, we're actually going to give you a 3-part video series so that you can implement it without us. We're going to tell you and show you why it works, how it works, and what it is. That's video 1. Video 2, frequently asked questions that come from new players and how to overcome common objections when you actually use this approach to get your first meeting. And last but not least, how you can then use the Black Swan Insight to run an account-based marketing strategy. So the value is they come to you before you go to them. That's video number 3. We want to give you this 3-part video series so you can crack your first enterprise account. If you'd like to work with us to actually unlock it, we help founders close a 7-figure deal with their first enterprise customer in less than 16 weeks. Check out the link below. And if that's too pricey for you, you can jump straight into our free implementation where we give you a trial of our Black Swan agent in our 3 weeks to visionary. That is also below. And if you're like, I don't want to sit here and watch 40 minutes on this Black Swan, I can guarantee you this approach will work for your business. It only costs a few bucks and you've just got to be courageous enough to do it. And if you're still doubting it, enjoy the fucking shitty conference food, enjoy the 15-minute meetings, and enjoy wasting your time Right now, this is the greatest opportunity you could be missing. Find the black swan, go after people that need you, and show them how you can transform. And that seven-figure deal can happen in a matter of weeks versus a matter of years. Yeah, and something you could consider is that the main issue is just drop the word use from the dialogue. So when has using someone ever behooved you, really?
Right. And when have you being used has ever made you?
So if you were just to say the orientation of what they are could be true, but the thing that you can control is I'm just looking for people to build belief with. And the counterparts we saw yesterday was surprising how quickly they were like, oh, I need to reconnect with the work. I'm the problem, which is a really interesting moment, I think, for you to witness and remember as you decide whether to engage or not. The last thing I'll say to you is the reason that we look at the black swan insight is the easiest path to transformation is through crisis. And so as a smaller company, the real bets get drawn when they work with David versus Goliath based off, we can make very few bets. We need someone to work way harder than anyone else in a completely new direction that we're not going to do. And so it's the opportunity for rebirth comes after a black swan event has hit hard and they have to now change or they won't change. And so your orientation is this organization actually going to change? Is a way better orientation than is this organization evil? Because you'll be surprised what people can do and who they are comes through once the system loses its power, and how much of that evilness is the system versus people that joined it and didn't know what it was, but now can't get out. But that change moment, and that's why we focus on black swan. So one question someone hasn't asked me is, what if there hasn't been a black swan? The answer is, don't put them on your named account list until you make 50 million a year. Like, deal with the people that need to change in order to win and prevail, not those just coasting, because there is someone serving them better that already helped them with that moment, and you could compete for it. It's just going to cost you more. So therefore, you're better off spending your time in the places that can move the fastest, the boldest, because they have to, and then use those stories to attract those that are already moving and considering a switch. But if you're trying to switch, go against someone and compete and switch, you're creating your own problem at the size that you are because you just don't have the resources to win those battles. And so the cool thing is we get to deal with people doing bold stuff. The negative of that is it's almost always in the darkness. And so that's why we don't want to build pain when we sell. We want to build trust, because if we build trust, we see people's nature get the opportunity to come out. But if we build pain, we'll see the system's nature come out. And that can be way more nefarious to the culture of the organization than the people that are trapped by it and just don't know what leadership is. All right, I'm out of here. But start with that orientation, because that's your job as a market visionary. The market visionary is, we're gathered here, we can take on the uncomfortable truth. But you can't come. You can never be that person. You just got to be like, they're not going to come. But you've got to open the door.
The same thing is true to this yesterday. If you ask me what the single biggest problem that I encounter with CEOs, it is the misjudgment of the people that work with them. Because they have already fixed their identity of their key reports. And therefore they have marginalized those reports because they can't see what's really there. Positive or negative. They either think Ethan's a great guy, and he's my go-to guy, when Ethan is actually quietly walking around telling everybody what a fuck up I am. Or it's Ethan is a fuck up because he doesn't do it when he's quietly, persistently helping everyone in the system. So it's the same things. You have to stay with a ready mind about these partners until you jump.
Cool. And remember, like, the black swan finds when there's a problem. The problem is when the board gets recast. That's the entrepreneur's moment. That's all. And then sometimes later on, when you're a big business person, you can take on the whole market. But we just need it when the die gets recast. Yeah?
Yeah, so mine was Disney.
Yep.
They just had a black swan of 1,000 people cut last month.
Mm-hmm.
mostly in the marketing department.
Okay. That's poor bastards.
Yeah, and they said it was like a $24 billion problem for them.
Okay.
So my takeaway from this thing, when you first said you have half an hour to go do it, I was like, how are we going to do this in half an hour? That sounds incredibly hard. And I was done in 5 minutes. And I was like mind blown at how effective this tool was. So it completely gave me this excitement about going home and using it like crazy.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, I just want to say thank you for making it. It's amazing.
No worries. Yeah. Now you can do 20 in an hour.
Yeah. I'm having all these ideas.
Yeah.
How I can use this with the team. And
Yeah, definitely.
super excited.
And if you want to know how to use this with your team, we like to swarm, which means we send everyone a message there from everyone in the team at once.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been set up with Genesis yet on a swarm campaign for a named account,
Oh, something that was
that's part of your service. She can do that. So you should really talk to her about that.
really surprising that we thought was like magic was it targeted people who had left Disney, but some of those people hadn't even updated their status yet on their LinkedIn, and it knew that they had left. But there's other people that did, so it was like, holy crap!
Oh, I had one that said the chief academic officer left.
Yeah.
And then I went to her LinkedIn, and she still said chief academic officer at the district. And then I went to it said she moved down to principal, and I went to the school, and sure enough, she was on the school website as principal, and not at the district level.
So it was correct.
Yeah, she actually had been demoted to principal.
Wow. Yeah, that's next level.
Or decided. Could have been.
Good questions. So what, good practicing.
No, that's what.
I heard a question mark at the end of that statement. I heard a question mark right at the end. You snuck that right in. Good work. Let's keep moving. Andy, how are we going on time?
Yeah. You have 20 minutes for the next two sessions.
What are the next 2 sessions? Okay. I'm just looking at it. Everyone's seeing. I can do it in 15. Why don't we take 5? I'm just going to quickly show you how you can turn a Black Swan insight into a LinkedIn post that actually attracts attention from your audience, leveraging the information that you just found, but in a good way that gets the right attention. So take 5. I'm going to bring you back and show that. And then we'll see how we go on the audience build. But if not, we can do that one-on-one if we don't get there.